Another week and another Tory rebellion against Rishi Sunak and his policy program. And my question to you is, do you think this is going to get anywhere? I don't think so. Yep, another Monday and another group of Tory MPs who are angry with the government policies. It's quite regular now. We got left, right, centre, every part of the Tory party kicking off as usual. So in this video, we're going to give you guys the latest announcement. There is a new group again, a new group of backbenchers with a new branding as rebels. We call them rebels here. And then we're going to go through all the existing groups in Parliament with all these MPs. It's going to be fun. So let's talk about the new ones. They're called New Conservatives. And we've got all the Red Bull MPs and Midland MPs, the ones who are angry right now, fed up, led by Lee Anderson. Yes, Lee Anderson, Andrew Lewer. We've got Danny Kruger, who spoke at the National Conservatism Conference. Nick Fletcher's there. Miriam Cates, who was also at the National Conservatism Conference. Alex Stafford and Jonathan Gollis and Sarah Atherton. And all these guys got together to start this new thing to attack the government, trying to say, well, we were elected in 2019 on a manifesto that was supposed to be defending the Red Bull, supporting the working classes and get Brexit done, protect the border and everything else. And none of that's happening. And they're scared of losing their seats. And now Lee Anderson is attacking Rishi Sunak's government policies. And he's actually vice chairman of the party. So it's quite interesting. He's actually inside the tent. He's created another group in Parliament attacking the tent. So what's going on here? So the policies are being formulated. There was a unanimity in the room that Rishi Sunak must bring down legal migration and attempt to avoid breaking the Tories' manifesto pledge in 2019 to lower the numbers. Other priorities include ending the inequalities of fiscal drag, reversing cuts to the size of the armed forces, taking on what they view as the woke agenda, and putting more emphasis on apprenticeships over universities. So all the things that these guys stood on in 2019. But Rishi Sunak is already making U-turns on that manifesto. We already reported a couple of days ago on the issues of immigration. He actually wants to increase the net migration, so overall economic migration, legal economic migration. And I'm glad that this conversation has finally started, because over the last few years, while everybody else was just talking about illegal migration, people like me have been also warning about mass legal migrations. And now we have some MPs and some people in the media finally talking about it. So that's one of the issues. Now, what is Lee Anderson saying about all this? Lee Anderson says, I suspect if you knocked on 100 doors in any of our constituencies and asked them if migration was too high, 99 will say yes. And I think I agree with Lee Anderson on this. He says, most of us who sit in that chamber don't have to worry about being on the council house waiting list. They don't have to worry about getting a dental appointment. We don't just sit there in pain because their knee operation has been cancelled for the 10th time. But as he's implying, other people have these problems, but the MPs are out of touch. These are real things that affect real people in our areas, the people we represent. Sometimes I don't think we do a very good job of it because the message is not cutting through. We need to keep gently reminding that places what's happening in the real world. It's actually quite good to see someone like Lee Anderson being honest. You know, I know obviously he's not the government minister, so he's not in charge of policies, but he's still inside the tent. But he's not afraid of telling the truth about the failures of his own party and his own government. So this is exactly what we need. I know it's still just talks, but it's a good start that you actually have someone admitting that the government policy program is a failure. And it is. Now, this takes us to the next point, which is about all the groups that exist right now in Parliament inside the Tory Parliamentary Party. The numbers are going up, because back in the day, you only had a couple. Now we have, for example, this is actually in the Times, we had this very good piece about the number of Tory tribes and which one of them actually spelled more trouble for Rishi Sunak and party unity. So first one is New Conservatives. The latest grouping of about a dozen Tory MPs is drawn from members of the 2019 and 2017 intakes. Its primary focus is to secure the realignment of the Conservative Party from the managerial south of England to the Midlands and the Red Wall. Drawn from the Tory right of the party, it says its priorities will reflect those of voters on the doorstep, such as reducing immigration. The group supports Rishi Sunak, so they don't want to completely get kicked out of the party. Considering you actually have Lee Anderson as the vice chairman, you can't really say, let's destroy the party. They also have a rating under each group. This article, a trouble rating out of 5 is 3. So that's pretty high, 3 out of 5. All right, next one. Common Sense Group. Yes, we've talked about these guys before. Sir John Hayes is involved with this. Established in 2020 and thought to have about 60 members, it says that it wants to speak for the silent majority of voters who are tired of being patronized by their bourgeois elite. Yes, it is also highly critical of the woke agenda. Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, is closely linked to the group, and there is also a strong crossover with the New Conservatives. Prominent members, Sir John Hayes, Sir Edward Lee, Bob Blackman, and the trouble rating is 4 out of 5. That's even more dangerous than the first one, the New Conservatives. Next one, yeah. ERG, yeah, they're still going on. The European Research Group was once the most influential of all the Tory groupings in Westminster, with up to 100 Conservative MPs largely following its direction. During Theresa May's premiership, it ran a highly effective shadow whipping operation that resulted in record defeats for the government over the Prime Minister's Brexit withdrawal agreement. But since Britain left the EU and some of its most senior figures went into government, Steve Baker, the ERG is a shadow of its former self. Prominent members include Sir Bill Cash, Mark Francois, and Jacob Rees-Mogg. Trouble rating 3 out of 5. That's actually sad, considering how Brexit has gone, thanks to this government, the implementation of Brexit. You're going to need a group like ERG to be proactive. But they're kind of like, they're taking a nap right now. Well, they're mostly in coma. Okay, next one is One Nation. Oh, a bunch of lefties, these guys. Ugh, no one cares, considering the whole government is left-wing. And we're going to get into this one. Set up in 2019 to counterbalance the ERG. The group is made up of Conservative MPs on the left of the party. Its influence was reduced early on after Boris Johnson expelled 21 Tory MPs who defied the government over Brexit. Boris didn't have time for these leftist Tory MPs. After the election, it was relaunched under the chairmanship of the former Deputy Prime Minister, Damien Green, to promote a centrist agenda. Leftist, but yeah, it is viewed more as a talking shop. You got Damien Green, Greg Clark, Robert Buckland, and all the other nutters. Trouble rating 1 out of 5. Now, why do you think the trouble rating is 1 out of 5? It's because the government is One Nation. Why do they need to rebel? Have you seen Jeremy Hunt? So it's absolutely a pointless group of MPs, but they were created to oppose Boris Johnson, and Boris kicked out most of them. Now they're back. Northern Research Group. Yes, these are the Red Wall people. Set up after the 2019 election to champion the Red Wall MPs' interests. The NRG was highly influential in Boris Johnson's Downing Street. Under Sir Jake Berry, I forgot he became a Sir, oh dear, it backed the rebalancing of infrastructure funds to the north. The influence has since waned. And obviously, yeah, makes sense. You got Michael Gove in charge now of the levelling up. You've got John Stevenson, Jake Berry, some people involved, kind of irrelevant really at this point. 2 out of 5 rating. So this is exactly why the Tories always fail with their rebellion against their own party, their own government, basically, because they don't even know what they're doing. You got so many groups. At least back in the day with the Labour Party in 2015, you had one very powerful group called Momentum, and they got Jeremy Corbyn elected. That's how you do it if you're going to do a revolution inside your party. But we will see what happens with this so-called Conservative Party in government. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.